Hey everyone, this is Penguin Hasashi. So, since tomorrow is Mother's Day, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit special. So, for starters, I have a photographer friend named Katie. And last week and a half ago, I had her take some Mother's Day photos of me and Zelda Hasashi. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys first. And then I think for Mother's Day, I can't get my words out. I'm sorry. I'm still sick with the flu. I think I'm gonna kind of tell you guys about like my pregnancy with Zelda, and just it's all about Mother's Day. So I think I'm gonna do that. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and share these photos with you. Okay, so now that you've seen the cute little photo shoot that my friend Katie did of me and Zelda Hasashi, let's get into my becoming a mother story. So, for starters, I found out that I was pregnant on Mother's Day back in 2017, I believe, because Zelda was born in 2018. So, 2017, Mother's Day, is when I found out that I was pregnant. Now, a few weeks before Mother's Day, I realized that I wasn't starting my menstrual cycle. Like, I was really late. And I was late for a couple weeks. And my mom kept badgering me. She's like, go get checked, go take a pregnancy test. And I kept telling her no because, I've tried to conceive before and it just wasn't working for reasons that I'm not going to get into today. But I just couldn't, getting pregnant just wasn't working years prior. And I told my mom, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have another disappointment. I know I'm not pregnant. I know that's not what's going on. My period is late for some reason. I'll get checked out or I'll go to the hospital whenever I feel like going. I was in that state of mind. Like, I don't want another disappointment. I'm not pregnant. Stop telling me to take a pregnancy test. The day before Mother's Day, my stomach was seriously cramping, but again, no menstrual cycle. And my mom was getting frustrated with me over the phone. And she's like, you come pick up this pregnancy test. And tomorrow morning, you take it. And I thought, you know what? If this is gonna, as much as I don't want to say it, I was like, if this is the only way to shut her up, I'm gonna do it. So I got the pregnancy test and I came back home. The next morning, Mother's Day, I woke up around like 7 in the morning and I was already depressed because in my mind, I already knew that the test was going to come back negative. And I went to my bathroom and I took the pregnancy test, and when I looked at it, it said it was positive. And I'm like, okay, no. This is wishful thinking. I'm just looking at it wrong. And I was about to cry because, and I was like, this is just wishful thinking. The world knows that I want to be a mom so badly, and my eyes are playing tricks on me. And I kept looking at the paper, like the instructions, and I kept looking at the test, and it just kept matching. It just said that I was, pregnant. And that's when I realized, like, oh my God, I'm actually pregnant, like it actually happened. Like, it actually worked. For reasons, the first person that I called was my mother. And I remember I had my back to the wall and I was like, Mom? And she's like, yes, baby. And I told her, I was like, I'm pregnant. And I just started crying so bad. My mom, on the other end of the phone, she busted out her front door out of her house. She ran outside and started shouting, I'm going to be a grandmother. Woo! Praise Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Just going all about her thing. I was so excited. Now, my pregnancy itself was not fun at all. When I was 6 weeks pregnant with Zelda, I started having the very heavy morning symptoms, like the nausea and the whatever else on top of it. And I kid you not, my mother and my Aunt Tammy are a witness to this. I was literally throwing up 4 times. One, two, three, four. 4 times every 20 minutes, every single day. From week 6 to month 6. It was that bad. I had to go to the hospital. I had to get IVs. I could not physically eat and drink and keep anything down. It was horrible. I was really, really weak. And so I had to go through all this. I did eventually get put on some nausea medications, but I was too afraid of getting hooked on these and just like relying on them. So I took them like, I took one every other day, or like, like one every other day, like a couple days at a time, I didn't want to get like hooked or like addicted to them or something, Of course, being pregnant for the first time, I was also worried, like, is this gonna hurt my baby? Like, taking all these nausea pills every time I'm nauseated or whatever, is it gonna hurt? Like I was just, my brain was all over the place. So I started taking these anti-nausea pills, and it helped a little, but a little. Um, so my pregnancy was so tough, and it's weird because I used to drink a lot of Pepsi and a lot of heavy duty coffee, but when I found out that I was pregnant with Zelda, I stopped. I cut out all the sodas. I cut out all the coffee. I cut out every single ounce of sugar you can think of. I was seeing a dietitian. I was the healthiest woman you will ever meet. Like, just extremely healthy at this point. However, the part that I still don't understand to this day was, even though I cut out every single ounce of junk food and garbage, I was still gaining a massive amount of weight. When I found out that I was pregnant with Zelda, I was only 119 pounds. By the time it was about time for me to have her, I was like 180 pounds. Again, I was gaining massive amounts of weight, even though I cut all this crap out, like all the sugar and the sodas and the caffeine. Like, I cut, that's one thing to this day, I don't understand how that happened. But my body frame, like, I'm 5'2", so I'm kind of short. I'm a short guardian, okay? But Zelda was gaining weight inside my stomach. When I had her, you guys, again, I'm 5'2". How the heck did my body hold out? This child of mine was about 11 pounds when I had her. She looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy, okay? She was just massive. And I'm like, again, how did my body hold out that long? This is the part that I'm probably going to get teary-eyed about. Way before I got pregnant with Zelda, way before everything, when I was about maybe 20 years old, because I got pregnant with Zelda when I was like 24, I had the greatest man in my life. He was like my best friend. He was like a grandpa or like a second dad to me. He was actually a Titan main in Destiny. He bought me my first PS4. He bought me Destiny 1. This man took care of me. Okay, like I said, the relationship that we had with each other, it was like a second dad or like a grandfather, granddaughter kind of a thing. This man took care of me. And he and I both would play Destiny 1 every single day. Again, he was a Titan main. Years prior, though, he did serve in the Army for X amount of years. And when he came out, he found out that he had bone marrow cancer in his hips. So, coming out of the Army, he got a job and he was working down at the place that I worked, and this is how we met. This is how our friendship started, and he and I just got super, super close. Like, we just had that, I can't explain it, that grandfather-granddaughter bond, okay? And we played Destiny 1 every single day, and for the next couple of years, whatever. And when he found out that I was, pregnant with Zelda, I don't know what it was, but it was almost like his cancer just started getting worse. And I was told that he wasn't gonna be around long enough to see Zelda come into the world. And it destroyed me. It literally destroyed me because, like, great, my best friend's dying and my kid's about to come into the world, right? But I continued playing Destiny with him, Destiny 1, every chance I could. He never, I don't think he ever got the chance to play Destiny 2. Now my cat wants attention. Stop it! But Zelda was supposed to enter the world on January 18th, 2018. However, on July 17th, 2018, my mom texted me, and she told me, she's like, honey, she said, honey, Aaron's probably, that was his name, Aaron. She said, Aaron's probably not going to make it through the morning. He's going to probably end up going to heaven before you wake up. And I'm sitting here, and I'm, like, filled with all these different emotions. It's like, I'm about to pop out this child. My best friend's dying. Like, how are you supposed to feel about that? Okay. So I pulled out my phone. Now, at this point, Aaron was in the hospital. Okay. And his daughter through marriage was there with him in his final moments and everything. But I texted his phone. Like, I sent a message to his phone, and I told him, I said, Aaron, I am so proud of you. I said, you went in the army, you served for so many years in the army, and you came out, you fought cancer for a number of years, and now you're going to go to heaven and be with your mother again. Like, I am so very proud of you. But deep down inside, I was hurt because this man's not going to see my child when she's born, But I was not going to tell him that or anything. I just wanted him to know that I was proud of him and that I was glad that he was going to be with his mother again in heaven and just all that. So this is what I was telling him through text. However, Aaron never saw this text. He never even knew that I messaged him at all. I guess he was in like a coma state or something. He couldn't read anything. He couldn't really hear anything. So his daughter through marriage messaged me back, and she's like, hey, I have my dad's phone. My dad can't text or read anything or hear anything. And I was just ripped apart because I sat there and I started crying, and I thought, this man is never going to know how much he meant to me and that I'm proud of him for everything, and just, like, he's never going to know. Well, January 18th, I woke up at like 8 in the morning or whatever, and my brother texts me. Now, I'm already ready to pop out this baby, but my brother texts me, and he was like, are you sitting down? And I remember I was about to eat my oatmeal, and I was like, I wrote my brother back, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm about to eat my oatmeal. What's up? And he's like, Aaron passed away in his sleep last night. I dropped straight to my knees, and I was like, God, I don't know if you are real or not, but please don't let me have this baby yet. I can't do it. Because again, my best friend, my Destiny 1 partner, he was like my second dad or like a grandfather. Like, this man helped take care of me. Like, he died the same day I was supposed to have Zelda. And I was like, God, if you were real, if you exist, I can't do it. Like, I can't have Zelda. I can't have her today when my best friend just died. Like, that man was my partner and everything. Like, I can't do it. Like, don't let me have her today. And later on that day, Aaron's nephew, for privacy reasons, I'm going to keep his name out of this video, but sometimes I would play D1 with him, with Aaron, when Aaron was still alive. Well, Aaron's nephew got on the game, And he told me, he's like, he said my name, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, I don't believe in divine interventions or spirits or ghosts or anything. And I was like, and again, I'm on the headset, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this man was crying. He's like, but I want to tell you something. And I said, what do you want to tell me? Like, what's wrong? And he said, Aaron's daughter through marriage showed me all the messages that you sent my uncle last night on his phone. And I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I sent them. And he's like, my uncle Aaron never saw those messages that you sent him. He never got to hear them. Like, there was, like, he couldn't, he was, like, unresponsive. Like, Aaron was unresponsive. I said, I know. But he's like, no. Like, you need to listen to me. And I was like, what? He said, in your messages that he never read, that he never saw, that you wrote him, you were telling him that you were proud of him, for fighting in the army and then coming out of the army and fighting cancer, and then you were proud of him about going to heaven and being with his mother. I said, yeah. He said, my uncle woke up from his sleep, or whatever it was, twice before he passed away. And do you know what he said? And I was like, what? This man, he told me that Aaron said that he saw his mother. He saw his mother, and his mother told him, Aaron's mother told him, like, in his dream or whatever, she says, Aaron, not right now, but the next time you fall asleep, it's time for you to go home with me. Talking about heaven. And Aaron's like, okay. After he had that dream, he woke up out of whatever it was, and like his coma or something, and he started speaking, and he was like, and he relayed the message. He's like, this is what my mom said. He told his daughter through marriage this. And when Aaron's nephew gave me this message, I started crying. And Aaron's nephew, like, after giving me this message, he told me, he said, you know what? Aaron may not have saw anything you messaged him, anything you texted him last night before he passed away, but I strongly feel that somehow this was his way of letting you know that even though he couldn't read your messages, or even though he didn't physically know that you messaged him at all, he got that message that you sent to him. Like, he knows how you feel. He knows that you know. And it was almost like basically it was kind of like a divine intervention, like Aaron somehow was able to tell me without telling me, if that makes sense. And it was a very emotional moment, honestly, that right there, because it was like, wow, like, Aaron actually does know without reading my messages or anything. Like, he does know, and he gave me that sign to let me know that he knew. Hope that's not too confusing. Aaron's viewing was like a few days later, and I was like, I'm out. I'm like, and I told my mom was like, honey, you should stay home. You're about to have this baby. And I was like, no, this is the last time I'm going to see that man. I need to go. I went to the viewing, and I said my, farewell to my D1 partner. He was all laid out in his casket and everything, and I just looked at him and I was like, farewell, partner. Farewell, Titan. And it's funny because I had a little Destiny 1 ghost keychain with me, and I was like holding on to it, and I was like, so long, partner. So long, Titan. So long, partner. So long, Titan Mane. Good night, Guardian. As I'm going through my thing, this big man, he was a giant pastor. Like, he was just real. He came over to me, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, man, you're about to pop any day, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, yes, sir. And I automatically knew he was a pastor, like a man of God. And I was like, oh, my, yes, sir. And he's like, if you don't mind, can me and the guys pray over you? Like, to just pray over you, to, pray over the coming into the world of your child and everything. I was like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, ma'am, do I have permission to touch your stomach as I pray? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. So all these men came around me from the church, and this big giant pastor came over. Again, I'm small, so he was giant to me. Okay, so he comes over to me, he puts my hand on my stomach, and he's literally praying over me and Zelda, and praying that, me having Zelda would be like safe, and that her and I would be okay, and there would be no complications, and everything would be fine, whatever. And he was just blessing me and blessing Zelda the entire time in the name of Jesus. And I kid you not, the entire prayer lasted for like 15 minutes, and the entire 15 minutes, Zelda being in my stomach, just bebopping around, and my brother sitting there like watching my stomach go bang, boom, bang. Like, this kid was excited in my stomach. Like, my brother's just standing there like, so after he did the prayers and everything, I went back home, and I said farewell to my mother, and I was still not in the greatest emotional state. I couldn't. Zelda came into the world on January 25th, 2018. Now we're going to get into that. Having Zelda was not the coolest thing in the world. So I woke up on January 25th, and I was supposed to be at the hospital like very early in the morning, like 6 or 7. I had to be dilated because, again, I'm 5'2", right? Zelda's close. She's like 11 pounds. She's not coming out. My water didn't break. Nothing's happening. I'm 42 weeks in pregnant. Like, I'm 42 weeks in. She ain't coming out. So they were going to dilate me. So I had to go to the hospital early, and I got there, and I'm laying in bed, and I told my mom, because my mom was there with me the entire time, and I told her, I said, Mom, if I gotta push this giant thing out of me, you better play the Twilight Princess Link versus Ganondorf music. Do you understand me? That's the battle music that I need. If I am going to stare in the face of death, that's the music that I want. Do you understand me? And my mom was like, okay, if the doctors allow it, but this is no easy game now. And I was like, listen, I already know that I'm looking in the face of death, but I want this thing out of me, and I want to have my little girl. Like, I wanted Zelda in my arms more than anything. It took forever for the doctors to come in. So like I said, I was in there from like 6 or 7 in the morning. They didn't come in to check me out until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. When the doctors came in, they were like, okay, honey, we're going to do one more ultrasound just to make sure everything's okay in there. And I'm like, I'm starving, but I can't eat yet. They checked out my stomach, and they told me that there was too much amniotic fluid in there. And I'm like, great, now what are we going to do? And they're like, well, that's not the only thing. And I'm like, what do you mean that's not the only thing? And they're like, well, if you pushed out Zelda's head, her shoulders would be stuck. Like, this baby got some broad shoulders. So we would have to put her back in, stitch everything up, and then give you a C-section. And I looked at them, and I'm like, listen, no, I'm not going to be chopped from bottom to midway. I said, just give me a C-section. Just let's do that, okay? Because I'm not going to be mutilated from, they're like, okay. So around 4, maybe 3:30 to 4 o'clock, they wheeled me back into the operating room. Not to scare anybody here, but I can't say this word, the anesthesiologist, the guy with the big needles, he had to have been new. This man had no idea what he was doing, okay? I'm in a nightgown, like the hospital nightgown, and this guy, he's like, all right, lay on the table, turn around, like lay on your side. And I'm like, okay. So I'm laying on my side. And he's like, no, just sit on your butt. Like, sit on your butt. And I'm like, so I rose up and sat on my butt. There's a lady nurse in front of me, and she's like, all right, honey, I want you to hold me, and I want you to squeeze the living hell out of me. But don't turn your head back and don't look back. And here I am, doing what she said not to do. This anesthesiologist came over with the biggest needle you can imagine. And my body started to sweat. And I looked back at her and I'm like, what is he going to do with that thing? What's he going to do with that needle? And she looked at me right in the eye. She said, what needle? And it's like, I knew. I was like, oh, God, I'm screwed. So she told me, she said, like I said, don't look at him. Eyes on me. Squeeze the hell out of me if you need to. I held on to this woman's neck. Like, I put my arms around her. And this guy, this anesthesiologist, he had no idea what the hell he was doing, okay, Guardians? He had no idea what he was doing. He took this needle that was like, 9 inches long, and he stuck it into my back. The first time he stuck it into my back, he hit a nerve, which made my leg go kabang right in the air. And he's like, ma'am, you're supposed to stay still. And I said, you hit a nerve in my back. That's why my leg kicked up. I ain't trying to kick your coworkers in the face for nothing. Like, that was you. You hit a nerve. He's like, oh, let me try it again. Sticks the needle in my back again. He scraped my backbone, like my spine or like whatever, like a backbone. And I heard the crunch, like I heard the scrape. And the nurse that was holding me, she just had that expression on her face. And over there like, oh. He's like, he pulls the needle out. And he's like, damn it. All right, we're going to do it again. Sticks in a third time. He hit a vein in my back. My back was bleeding. He's like, oh, damn it. Ma'am, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but you have the weirdest back. Do you hear me? He said, I can't get these needles anywhere that I want it to go. And I'm drenched in sweat at this point. And he's like, you know what? You're already hooked up to an IV, so why don't I just shoot the medication in through there? I looked at him and I was like, pardon my French, but I told him, I said, why the F didn't you do that before?